All right, by now, the last video I just uploaded for Kicking It Old School, it's now officially uploaded where I showed you my collectible Pac-Man tabletop about this big. But now I have an album versus album for you. Two soundtrack albums are about to battle it out. Shuckalaka kapow! How's it going, old schoolers? You're Kicking It Old School with Russell JS, and I am your host, Russell JS. Yes, two movie soundtracks, two of my favorite movies of the 90s, which are period films that take place back in the 70s. And I've discussed how much I love period films that take place in certain time, and I like the ones where they try to make it as authentic as possible to where it looks like a movie that takes place in that time, whether it's the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. I mean, heck, the most authentic period movies were the old westerns of like that go from the 1930s into the 1960s, because that's America's mythology right there. I mean, heck, even some of my favorite movies that were filmed in the time they take place in, when I was a kid, like Ghostbusters or, National Lampoon's Vacation, The Goonies. I mean, those themselves, after years where they still stand the test of time, they themselves are period films because you know why? They were filmed in the same period that they take place in. And you just look at it and be like, wow, I used to wear a jacket like that. Or I remember my father had a car just like that. But the two movies I'm talking about, the two soundtracks that are battling it out tonight, Dazed and Confused versus Detroit Rock City. Now, what do the two movies and the soundtracks have in common? The soundtracks, well, this one has, original 70s tunes by the original artist. This one has the tunes, you got tunes either by original artists of that time period or, the modern artists of the time this movie came out in 1999, like, say, Everclear and Marilyn Manson doing classic old rock covers. And funny thing is, Dazed and Confused, it takes place in 1976 when Kiss's album Destroyer came out. And this one in 1978 when Kiss were really at their popularity, at their peak. This is about a bunch of high schoolers in 1976 all getting together for one awesome party, and everybody in high school is there, the preppies, the jocks, the stoners, the nerds, they're all at that party. And this one is about four friends living in Cleveland, Ohio, trying to get to a Kiss concert in Detroit in 1978 with, all sorts of barriers in their way, like, an overbearing religious mother, disco punks, car thieves, a convenience store robber, even a disc jockey that handed their winning tickets and passes to the next caller because one of the guys hung up on them. But you know what? The soundtracks of these movies are really great. And remember, if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit a like, subscribe, leave comments in the box down below, ring that bell for notification. Now, the one thing is, Dazed and Confused has got 14 tracks, and Detroit Rock City has 15. So what I did was, you see, Dazed and Confused, because there was so much music in the movie, and it was really a time capsule for a lot of people who grew up in that era, they actually added another soundtrack with all the other music that was in that movie called More Dazed and Confused. But I took one of the tracks off of this one and put it with this one. So it'll be an even 15 for both. And it's going to be the final track, and it's going to be a mystery track. Now remember, like I said, you know what to do. If you love the channel, you know exactly what to do, and leave comments. And, tell all your friends, tell your friends, your family, like mom and dad, aunt and uncle, grandma and grandpa, brother or sister, cousins, classmates, colleagues, coworkers, even your pets about this channel. Help me build this channel up and help me build a following. And without further ado, let's see where these bad Oscars rank out in who's got the best soundtrack. Shall we? Okay, starting off with track number 1. We got Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo by Rick Derringer versus The Boys Are Back in Town by Everclear. Now, here's the thing. I thought, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, that's like the only song by Rick Derringer, with the exception of Real American, where in the video Hulk Hogan is playing the guitar. That's the only song they really play on the radio by Rick Derringer. I guess they treat him like a one-hit wonder when he probably had other hits. But this is like the only song. It's a good song. And, Boys Are Back in Town by Everclear, I like the Thin Lizzy version very much. And I love this version by Everclear. So Everclear helps win a point for Detroit Rock City. Slow Ride by Foghat versus Shout It Out Loud by Kiss. You know what? Foghat, Slow Ride is a good tune. I mean, they've played other songs besides Slow Ride, like Fool for the City and I Just Want to Make Love to You. And I think, and I love, and Shout It Out Loud is okay. It's a good song, but you know what? Because, I'm just going to go ahead and give them both a point. School's Out by Alice Cooper versus Runnin' with the Devil by Van Halen. Oh man, this is gonna sting. This is gonna hurt. I love both these tracks. I love Alice Cooper. I love Van Halen. I don't have a quarter on me. Wait a minute, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get one. Okay. This is going to be a stroke of fate, luck of the draw. I got a quarter out. Heads, it's going to be School's Out. Tails, Running with the Devil. I mean, I love both these tracks. And, oh boy, this is going to really hurt. Wait, no. See, I'm nervous and flipping the coin. And the winner of this track, the winner for this one it's Tails, Van Halen. So Van Halen wins for Detroit Rock City. Jim Dandy by Black Oak, Arkansas versus Cat Scratch Fever by Pantera. Oh, wow. Oh boy. I love both the songs. I love the songs Jim Dandy, and I love Cat Scratch Fever by Ted Nugent. And because I'm a fan of Pantera, I love this version of Cat Scratch Fever. Ooh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be harsh. I got to flip again. Heads, it's Black Oak, Arkansas. Tails, it's Cat Scratch Fever. Head, oh wait, I gotta do that. That was not a good flip. Tails, Pantera wins for Detroit Rock City. Tush by ZZ Top versus Iron Man by Black Sabbath. Tush is a really good rockin' bluesy tune. Really love it, but it's too short. And I love Iron Man better, so I got to give the point to Detroit Rock City. Love Hurts by Nazareth versus Highway to Hell by Marilyn Manson. Easily, simple. This is a no-brainer for me. I got to go with Love Hurts by Nazareth because you know why? I listened to this version of Highway to Hell, and I love the song Highway to Hell, but I hate Marilyn Manson. If there's one band I will ever say in this universe that I think sucks, it's Marilyn Manson. And I don't know, a lot of you can be like, oh my God, you trashed Marilyn Manson. I'm gonna unsubscribe. I mean, unsubscribe. It's your loss. We're all everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And it's a matter of opinion. If your opinion is that Marilyn Manson's the best band ever, that's your opinion. And I do respect it. But, you know, respect others' opinions as well. Okay, next. Stranglehold by Ted Nugent versus 20th Century Boy by Drain. You know, 20th Century Boy is a great rockin' track, but I gotta go. I think the T-Rex version is way better, so I'm going with Stranglehold. Dazed and Confused wins that point. Cherry Bomb by the Runaways versus Detroit Rock City by Kiss. God, I love Detroit Rock City by Kiss. I mean, and I love Cherry Bomb by the Runaways. And, you know, I'm starting to do this now, you know, not just with the tallying up the points for each album when it becomes a tie, but I'm doing this when two songs that I really love are going up against each other, and I really love both these songs, so it's got to be a luck of the draw, you know, stroke of fate. So therefore, heads it'll be Cherry Bomb, tails it'll be Detroit Rock City. Hold on, wait. And the winner for this is the Runaways. Cherry Bomb wins that point. Fox on the Run by Sweet versus Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy. Fox on the Run is a really great rockin' track, but I'm going with Jailbreak on that one. Tuesday's Gone by Leonard Skinner versus Rebel Rebel by David Bowie. Again, this is another one of those, man, you know, like, I really love the David Bowie track, Rebel Rebel, and I love the Leonard, I mean, it's a really, Tuesday's Gone is a really great ballad. So, again, here we go. Heads, it'll be Tuesday's Gone, and tails, it'll be Rebel Rebel. And the winner for this is, it is tails. Rebel Rebel takes the point. Okay. Highway Star by Deep Purple versus Strutter by the Donnas. You know, Highway Star is that's another really great, awesome track by Deep Purple. I mean, Deep Purple has had a lot of great tracks they've played throughout their career, like Woman from Tokyo, Child in Time, Perfect Strangers. But this is another one, once again, I have to do this. Heads, it'll be Highway Star, and tails, it'll be Strutter. And the winner for this is Deep Purple takes the win right here. Heads. Deep Purple with Highway Star. All right, here we are. We're at Rock and Roll All Night versus School Days by the Runaways. Easily, I mean, as much as I love Kiss, it's the studio version of Rock and Roll All Night. They don't even have a guitar solo in it like the live version does. And, you know, they've pretty much played Rock and Roll All Night to death. Which, you know, by the way, I'm going to make a video up. I got to tally up how many songs I know the radio has played to death, whether I like them, you know, and had enough of them, or I hate them. But I'm going to be getting a video ready for that soon. So easily, I am going to go with the Runaways on that one, because I do like that song as well. Okay. Paranoid by Black Sabbath versus Little Willie by The Sweet. Easily said, Paranoid. Now, here we are. We're coming down to it. Remember I said earlier that I had to pick a track off the secondary soundtrack album to go up against, you know, for track 15, to go up against, you know, track 15 by from Detroit Rock City. Now here it goes. Check this out. Show Me the Way by Peter Frampton, which I do dig that tune, versus Nothing Can Keep Me From You by Kiss, which is I guess their love theme, because one of the main characters meets a girl and falls in love. So and I love them both. I mean, Paul Stanley's vocals are great on it, and I love the orchestra. It reminds me of that track that Aerosmith did for the soundtrack to the movie Armageddon, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. But, I love both these songs. And once again, it's got to be a luck of the draw. It's got to be heads, Show Me the Way, versus tails, Nothing Can Keep Me From You. So here we go. Fingers crossed. Some of you love the Peter Frampton tune, and some of you, very little of you will like the Kiss tune, where a lot of you won't even know the Kiss tune. But here we go. This is it. This is the finale. And here we go. Fingers crossed. And the winner is Show Me the Way by Peter Frampton. As you can see, it landed on heads. But, however, this is where we're at with who wins this album battle. See, you got Dazed and Confused right there with 7 points, and you got Detroit Rock City with 8 points. So that means the winner of this Detroit Rock City takes the win in this soundtrack versus soundtrack. There you have it. Once again, I want to remind you one more time, if you're new to the channel, hit a like, subscribe, leave comments down the box below, ring the bell for notifications, and keep listening to old school music like this. Oh yeah, and I also want to tell you, if you're looking to read a really great book, for all you classic old school hard rockers out there, I just finished reading this book yesterday. If you are a diehard Van Halen fan, I believe you're going to enjoy this. Runnin' with the Devil by Noel E. Monk, who was Van Halen's manager from 1978 to 1984. And, he has a lot of stories from that time of the band. I mean, the guy, before he met Van Halen, he just got off a really grueling 12-day American tour with the Sex Pistols, which the Sex Pistols had broken up. And he was I guess he was a director, he was an engineer at Woodstock back in '69. He worked with Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix and the Grateful Dead and a lot of other great ones. But if you ever get a chance, by Noel E. Monk, Running with the Devil. If you're a diehard Van Halen fan, I mean, especially if you're more of a fan of the David Lee Roth era than you are the Sammy Hagar era. I mean, I love both eras. It doesn't matter to me. To me, Van Halen's Van Halen. I suggest you pick this up at your local Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or any bookstores where books could be sold, or your local public library. And one thing I can't wait for, because I'm also reading A Fine Line Between Stupid and Clever by Rob Reiner, the story of Spinal Tap. I showed you in my Christmas video that it's a two-sided book, where the other side, it's going to be like the real Spinal Tap biography, where, Nigel and David are interviewed. As soon as I get done reading that, I can't wait. I'm going to be reading this as well. It is a direct sequel, as you could see, to Tim Burton's first Batman movie. Now, the way I'm going to do this is, after I get done with the Spinal Tap book, I'm only going to read the true real life saga of how Spinal Tap became, just for now. But when I get into reading this, just to prepare myself, I'm going to watch Batman 89 first. And after I get done watching Batman 89, I'm going to start reading this book. And I won't watch Batman Returns until I get done with this book. It's a little something that I did years ago when the first time I read Shadows of the Empire. You see, you know the story of Shadows of the Empire. That's the story that takes place in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. See, what I did was first I watched the original Star Wars movie, which everybody will simply call Episode 4 A New Hope, since the prequels came out. I simply call that trilogy Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I don't care what anybody else does. That's how I do it. Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And here's what's going to happen. Here's what happened. You see, I watched the first movie first, and then I went to Empire Strikes Back. And when I got done watching The Empire Strikes Back, I picked up Shadows of the Empire. I started reading. It took me about a good month and a half to finish. Because, I don't get to finish things like that all the time, when I'm busy. But however, when I did get done reading that book, I proceeded to go ahead and watch Return of the Jedi. And, it was almost like a complete saga. And I remember thinking to myself, I wonder if they could ever go back and do Shadows of the Empire. I mean, especially now with CGI and AI all at the, all in the forefront these days. I'm sure they could do that. I mean, I'm sure that they can figure out a way, to make Harrison Ford, they could de-age Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill, put them physically there, have an actress stand in for Carrie Fisher, and they work the whole magic on her face. I mean, I think they could pull it off, and then it could be like an added movie disc to go with the OG trilogy. I mean, that would be something really cool. I mean, heck, I'm thinking to myself, after I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife when they had the ghostly version of Egon Spengler, because Harold Ramis at that point had been dead for about 10 years already. But they worked it to where they could get Harold Ramis physically in that movie, which I thought was pretty dang cool. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I went to see that at the theater. And when I saw that, man, the tear, I mean, I was just, there was not a dry eye in that theater when that scene took place. We were all in tears. But anyway, that's it for this video. Remember, keep kicking it old school, keep listening to old school music, watch old school movies, watch old school TV shows, play old school video games, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it chill, get you enough of love, get you enough of peace, get you enough of tranquility, get you enough of less chaos, no chaos, get you enough of less drama, no drama. Do everything and anything your heart truly desires. And this is your old pal, Russell JS, wanting to always wish you. And if your neck of the woods is somewhere up in the northern states, please keep warm, keep safe. Because I know the weather is really bad up in the upper part of, the country. Just keep yourself safe, be careful out there. And always remember, as always, I wish you Godspeed. May the force be with you always. And shuckalaka kapow!